As a business owner, do you know that situation where you've got someone directly in front of you and you are confident that you can change their life? Your product, your service, this is absolutely going to be a game changer for that person in front of you. You know your business can change their life, and yet you just don't yet have the right words to consistently inspire them to take action with you. By the way, this is going to be even better with my neighbor's children screaming in the backyard next door. Now, where most people would think to address this would to do what I'm sure many of you have done. Let me go online and figure out how to deal with objections. Though, isn't it even worse when they're not even telling you no? When you've got that person who is ghosting you for so long, they're playing the game of not right now, reach out to me after this holiday, reach out to me after that, let me think about it. And you probably see some of the same stuff online that I do. You can't go a day without seeing someone who is trying to sell you some sort of high pressure sales script online. They're trying to give you some sort of list of these clever objection crushers to take the common reasons why people would normally not buy and just obliterate them. And can I just say, for those of you that teach objection crushing strategy, thank you. And I'm not thanking you because you've helped to grow my business. Well, not directly, not in the way that you would want. It's that so many people have been on the receiving end of that high pressure, hard closing objection crusher strategy, and they absolutely hate you for it. They despise you for it. They want you to stop doing it. And even worse, you might actually get the sale, but then comes the buyer's remorse, then comes the negative reviews online, and no one is clearly winning when you're using those old school strategies. The real reason I'm thanking you is that when they then discover something like what I do, attract pre-sold clients, how to have your ideal clients selling themselves into what you do even before you ask for the sale, here comes this beautiful world of ethical influence, positive sales persuasion, which doesn't even feel like sales. There's a quick story that best illustrates this. I've got someone on my team that when he first started learning this more ethical influence style of sales, he previously worked for a health coaching company where, they would sometimes say the measure of the quality of their sales calls was how much you got them to cry over the phone. We like to call that strategy being a jerk face, being a butthead, being an absolute douche canoe. Don't do that. And as he learned the more ethical way of doing sales influence and persuasion, he said, the amazing thing about this is you cannot progress in the conversation if it's not in alignment with the person on the other side. He said it was physically impossible to try to force somebody into the sale because even the original conversation could not happen. This brings up the important question, how do you handle objections? What do you do when they say they can't afford you? They don't have time to work with you? What do you say when they don't believe that you're qualified to do the work that you do? What if someone else's offer seems better than yours? What if they need to talk to a loved one? And here's the reality when it comes around to crushing objections. Sales 101, satisfy objections before they arise. One of the easiest ways to handle objections in advance is to use stories. Telling an influential story is one of the most effective ways to handle an objection even before the person on the other end of that conversation can even think of the objection. Now, I've got one example that I'm often cautious to use because it almost sounds too good to be true. There's actually a few elements of the story that I have pulled back from, otherwise it sounds like I've made it up, which does bring up the ethical point, do not make up stories. This has been researched. If you lie, your pants are gonna be on fire. You know, liar, liar, pants on fire. So as part of my backstory, I used to do coaching often around people's health. And here's the guy who did everything he could to lose the weight, curb his unwanted behaviors, and not let his wife know that he was working with a coach to make that happen. So this is kind of the opposite of I need to talk it over with my spouse. This was the guy who was doing everything he could to hide the fact that he hired someone like me to help him out. Well, as you might expect, his wife was a bit smarter at what was going on than he was because he was dropping the weight. His behavior changes were happening extremely easy. And so she goes out and she hits like Hallmark or some sort of greeting card store and she buys like this greeting card congratulating him. And she says, congrats on losing the weight, congrats on cutting out the junk food. I'm so happy that you finally decided to, and then she drew a line and a period. She clearly left a blank in her quote. He opens the card and he's so excited that she noticed the changes, and then he realized he had been caught. And so finally, he revealed that he'd reached out to me and he got my help to work with him on that personal change. And she kind of leans back and she says, who did you call? And he says my name. And she goes, I already called you on his behalf several weeks ago. He didn't know. Again, I wish I was clever enough to make this kind of story up. As I will sometimes tell this story in my messaging and my marketing, what it actually does is it has the person changing the story inside of their mind. Rather than giving me the easy response of, I need to talk to my wife. Instead, they're hearing the story, they're going ahead and booking with me, and now they're going to the partner and saying, this is what I'm doing. Now, your examples may be different than mine, but again, the basics of objection crushing is Sales 101. Satisfy objections before they arise. Can you find a specific story? Can you find a specific piece of research? Is there some anecdote that you can tell that clearly changes that internal story on the person on the other side? Let's also look at the content you put out online. Like attracts like. This is the importance. This is what I call elevation inside of a bigger belief-shifting persuasion strategy. Can you tell the story that illustrates someone being successful on this upward moving momentum? If you're telling the story of people being broke and penniless and in a ditch and their spouse won't talk to them, I don't think many of you are telling that type of story, yet you want to elevate the type of story in the mind of your audience, which has them already mentally rehearsing the sale even before you ask for them to take that next step. So Sales 101, satisfy objections before they arise. My real message to you is you don't have to force people into the sale. You don't have to bash them over the head with a high pressure close. How can you embed the right language, the right words, the right influential principles at the right time to have them become that pre-sold client? Now, if this is something you want some help with, we run an extremely active community. It's the Attract Pre-Sold Clients Business Influence and Sales Persuasion community. Best news is it's absolutely free. I do a free client attraction workshop every single week inside of this community, and it's very easy to find. Head over to attractpresoldclients.com/group. Answer a few quick questions. One of my admins will let you in, and indeed, we will help you to make it rain. Talk soon.